All right, Justin. So we have an interesting use case for AI that has come about. And I've discussed the tool Notebook LM on here before. I talk about it in my book. It's a Google product that allows you to dump sources in. The sources could be PDFs, books, videos, websites. And then you can chat with your sources in the middle panel. And then the real powerful tool is you can convert those sources into different media formats. You can create an AI generated podcast. You could create videos, slide decks, mind maps, flashcards. I don't even think I'm naming all of the different things that they offer now, but it allows you to change how you want to learn things, which I think is a very, very powerful unlock. One of the first things I used it for, if you look back at one of our earlier episodes, is I took my email newsletters that I wanted to catch up on and I just dumped them in Notebook LM. I converted it to a podcast and went for a run and I listened to it. And it creates these two AI generated hosts that sound like a man and a woman having a conversation about your source material. But I was able to digest that content out on a run instead of having to sit there and read through these email newsletters. Okay, so it's evolved over the years. And now we have someone who decided to take the Epstein files, which is millions and millions of files, and dump them into Notebook LM and generate a podcast. And that podcast has exploded. Last time I checked, let's see, there are 120 episodes because it's a lot of material. And I started listening to it. It's fascinating stuff. Obviously, very heavy subject matter, very, controversial. It's some dark stuff in there. So this episode, we're not really talking about the content of the Epstein files, but it's about a use of AI and reactions to it. And you know what? I don't mind these two podcast hosts, even though I know that they're not
Yeah.
human. I actually don't mind it. And I do like the fact that he intentionally, whoever created this podcast, I have to look up his name, but he intentionally made them inject no opinion. Everything that they report has to be fact based and it has to be in the files. Nothing from outside articles, nothing from people's opinions, but it's just this is the data that is in the files and that's it. So it's a fascinating
Mm.
listen, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this as far as in the Epstein files and this as a use case for AI generation for
Yeah. So
podcast.
I think from a use case, genius. I mean, really, really genius use case. I think it works because it's based purely on fact. As far as your point about you don't mind listening to these two hosts, even though you know they are AI generated. They are not real people. I think where you would struggle with it is where there needs to be nuance. There needs to be personal opinion. There needs to be an objection. There needs to be something of that nature where it's more a flowing conversation rather than the regurgitate. Excuse me. Regurgitating is not a fair word, but the presenting in a certain format of information. I think from that point, genius. I'll tell you my first use case for Notebook LM was I took my, I think we spoke about this. I took my personality profiles by Enneagram reports and I put them into that so I could listen to a podcast discussing me rather than having to read it. And I've read it, but rather than reading it, just listening to it. And similarly for clients, taken all of the personality profiling reports for each of the team members, put those in, and got it to discuss, well, what does this mean for us as a team, knowing that we've got these different personality profiles in there. So any time that it's based on fact based on information that it is presenting back, then I don't mind listening to it. But I would struggle to listen to it in a lot of other cases where I want a little bit of an injection of humor and nuance and feeling and empathy and understanding and all of those elements that don't know if we've quite got there yet from an AI point of view.
Give this a listen. I'd be curious to hear what you think because they're not dry. They're not just
Yeah,
reading the files.
reading.
They have banter between the two co-hosts. At times you forget that these aren't real people. It's actually mind-boggling. And I for this use case, I like the fact that it's not tainted with opinion, or if someone
Mm,
is leaning politically right or left, because obviously there are a lot of big political names involved with this. So that you get that all the time, where people this can push people either direction. And I just want the facts as to what actually was documented, what actually happened. This allows me to inject my own opinion. So I think that
mm,
I actually praise him for that. Now, what I notice, I'm on the website landing page right now on Apple, the Epstein files, island investigation. So it has a 4.2 rating, and that made me dig in. I was like, I wonder what the bad reviews say. Now, this is funny, and this teaches you a lot about people. First of all, the description of the podcast says the Epstein Files is the first AI native documentary podcast to systematically analyze the Jeffrey Epstein case at scale. With over 3 million pages of DOJ documents, court records, flight logs, and public resources now available, traditional journalism simply cannot process this volume of information. AI can. So and it goes on, it's very clear that it's AI. Now, let's look at the reviews. AI. Well, this is the name of a review. AI, 1 star. These are not real hosts. This podcast was generated through Notebook LM, and Epstein was a
no
monster.
shit. No.
Right. It literally says that. AI slop, 1 star. AI generated from top to bottom. Do you expect accurate information about rich and powerful men from the technology supported by the rich and powerful men who deserve scrutiny? Find a podcast created by real people. Oh, they're promoting another podcast here. It's hilarious.
So
That's what it
interesting.
says.
It's so interesting. So
Yeah.
people, I mean, there's an agenda there. People have an ingrained bias. So in order for it seems that in order for an AI generated podcast to get a decent review, to get a 5-star review, in some people's mind, it would have to score a 100 out of 10 for them to allow them to get there. As an example, it's got to so far exceed what they think it's going to be in order for them to give an honest opinion on it. Otherwise, it's just immediately negative bias. It seems based on those first few. That's the takeaway
Yeah.
that I'm getting, or the sense.
Yes. Yeah, and we talked about this. Go back and listen to our episode about AI resentment, because it is big. I mean, they blatantly told you this is AI, and you feel the need to still give it a bad score and say that it's AI. People just I found it so fascinating. And honestly, this is eye-opening, because I trust this more than I trust a person for this material. A person is going to put their own filter, their own lens on how they see this, because it's heavy. You're talking about children, you're talking about rich people, you're talking about politicians. People feel a certain way about this. So I trust this more. Just like when it comes to driving, honestly, I'm starting to trust Waymos more. Like I would take Waymo over an Uber, because I don't know how
Mm.
that person who's driving, how they think, how they're going to react in certain situations, or if they've had a bad day, or if they had a drink, all these types of things. Whereas the computer has been trained and it's statistically safer, and it's going to get me there. So there's these little pockets of life opening up where I'm starting to prefer AI over humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to take this conversation elsewhere all of a sudden. I was listening to, I can't remember the name of, and I need to find it, but I was listening to a conversation, another podcast, where they were discussing AI, Ethan, and the guest on that podcast, he says that he thinks that AI is overhyped. This is an individual that's in the tech space. He
Mm.
says that he thinks that the likes of Sam Altman, they have hyped AI to more than it is potentially ever going to be in order to get massive valuations for their business. But he feels that it's going to pretty not too far from where we're at, and then kind of flatline and plateau from here, because AGI is something that's never going to be achievable. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's a first opinion of that nature that I've heard. I haven't heard of anyone saying that they think we've almost peaked where we're going to get to with AI.
I wouldn't use the word overhyped. I think it is the hype is justifiable once people understand the true power of it. And I'm surprised that the number of people over 7 billion people on this planet have never used AI. And when you think about it, I mean, it seems like in my world, it seems like everybody's using it. Sometimes I feel like I'm behind, and I've written books. I'm working on another book about it, and I teach this stuff, but I feel like I'm catching up. But most people haven't even touched it. So I think that there's room to grow. I would have to read the article, but I do agree that it is a bit of a bubble, just like the internet, the .com era.
Mm,
Everybody was .com crazy, and then it kind of fizzled, but it's still part of our lives. I mean, you go on a .com you've probably, well, I don't know what it's the afternoon for you. It's the morning for me. As soon as I wake up, I've probably been on 5 different .coms. It's
yeah,
just part of our lives, or my device has. So the internet didn't go away because people stopped talking about it. AI is never going to go away. So I think it will just become more and more ingrained in our lives to where we don't even think about it. It's going to be like oxygen, like air, like the internet, like water. We're just going to assume it's there.
mhm,
We will be used to it, and it won't be a big deal at some point.
yeah. So going back to our before I hijacked our conversation, I don't think it's going away either, and I don't think that's what this gent was saying. But he was saying it wasn't going to reach the heights or the peaks that a lot of people say it is going to. I don't think we've hit the peak. I think there's still a huge amount
Yeah.
to come. But I wonder if it's fear that drives the types of testimonials or the types of reviews that we just read on the podcast episode. In that this thing terrifies me so much. All I'm reading or hearing is it's going to replace jobs and it's going to make humans redundant. If we're wanting to put it that way. So the way I'm going to fight back is I'm going to give things bad reviews and saying this is nonsense
Mhm.
because it's AI and it's clearly AI. I wonder if it's partly just this like a fear reaction that's coming through from a lot of people.
I do think that that's a big part of it. And if you're the type of person, and you're probably not listening to this podcast if you're this type of person, but if you're the type of person who has just a mundane, rudimentary job where all you do is copy paste or just move things from one thing to another, if it doesn't require a lot of thought, a lot of human decision making, a lot of personal interaction with other human beings, and knowing how to leverage those relationships and what to say and not to say and understanding human nature. If you're in a job that is just totally just rudimentary, those jobs are going to go first. And we've already seen it start happening. Okay, so let's look at something. Now the surprise in that is computer programming. And that was what that guy's article, Matt Schumer's article, is about, because
Mm,
their jobs are being taken. But if you think about it, man, computer programming is really a bunch of if then statements, and you still have to, and then you just have to know the code in order to execute it. Driving a car, like driving a vehicle, is really pretty straightforward. The issue that we get into with driving is watching the other drivers and making sure no one does anything stupid. That's the biggest thing that we have to do. But if it were just you driving on a street and having to obey street signs, I mean, you don't even have to think about that. How many times have you driven and you're doing something else, you're thinking about something else, you're having a conversation with someone in the car, you're not having to think about what to do. So AI is replacing that.
yeah,
So yes, if someone has that fear, which and there are a lot of people who have jobs like that, and they should be scared. But that's why I encourage people to get out there and at least start using AI, playing with it. Don't fear it. If you feel like you're being bullied by AI, bully the bully. Go learn it. Don't let it take over your life. Don't let it replace you. Learn how to use it so that you can be the one who dominates.
I like that. I do like that, and I think again bringing it back to the Epstein file podcast. Again, it's AI showing up in places that people feel, hey, AI shouldn't be here yet. And I think that's maybe again what is making people uncomfortable is that it's the use cases are just endless and it's starting to show up in most areas. I mean, I think we would be shocked if we knew all the areas that it was in. Yeah. Physical
Yeah.
product as an example, we just can't see what's driving the manufacturing and behind it, but absolutely filled with AI interventions and process improvements and. But I think that was just it's a very, very in your face. Hey, it's in the space as well, which I think people, for whatever reason, some people just not expect it.
Yeah. But yeah, check it out. We'd love to hear your thoughts if you're listening here. What you think about this whole movement with AI and this breakthrough Epstein Files podcast that was fully AI generated to digest these millions of files and report the facts to us. Let us know what you think.
All right, this was a goodie. Thanks, Ethan.